good? Welcome, Musician Rewind. Thanks for coming.
Thank you,
Richard
bro.
Ruiz, drum extraordinaire, producer, and all that. Former track star.
Yeah. How you doing, man? Good to see you,
It's
bro.
all good, man. It's good. Yep. All right, so we're gonna jump right in.
All right, sir.
And so again, when I met you, you was already playing drums. So like, when did you start actually?
I started in around the fifth grade.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, around fifth grade. My parents bought a drum set for all of us, and I was the only one that started playing it. So
Oh, okay.
I took to the drums right away, in around fifth grade.
Wow. Okay. I didn't know that everybody was supposed to play.
Yeah, everybody was supposed to play. Yeah, but nobody played it but me.
Okay. So from there, okay. So I remember you used to run track,
Yep.
but you was already playing by then, right? Or was you running track before that?
We was running track. Well, we were all running track for St. Clement's for the church, and I was playing. Yeah, I think I was running track before I started playing drums.
Okay.
Yeah, but once they got the drum set, then I just started picking up the drums and started playing.
Yeah. Cool. And so from there, okay. So you wasn't playing in school, all right? That was just a.
No, I wasn't playing in school.
Band.
But then, in let me see. I think the fifth grade. Mr. Shelton in PS45.
Yeah.
You remember Mr.
Yes.
Shelton?
Yep.
Yeah, he asked me to play in the band, so I started playing in the band.
Okay.
At school at PS45.
Yeah. Rest in peace, Mr. Shelton. I think he died earlier this year, last year. Yeah. Yeah, but he was our music teacher in PS45.
Yeah, he was a great music teacher.
Yeah. So from then you went to 72, right?
Yeah, I 72.
72. So was you in the band in 72, Mr. Guarino?
No, I was in the band in 72. I started. Well, you know what happened? I started playing with Melvin Palmer. He saw me playing in Robbie Robertson's backyard, and I saw somebody looking at me. I was like, "Who this guy looking at me?" And he was standing with his arms crossed. And then when we finished practicing, he asked me if I could play in his band. And he went and asked my parents if I could play with their band. They were much older than me. So so he asked my parents if I could play in the band because their drummer John Palmer had went to the service. So John was the older.
Okay, because that was their brother, right?
So older brother. Drummer, and he was watching me, and he asked me to play with his band. So I started playing with Melvin Palmer first, back when I was in the fifth grade, and my parents allowed me to do it because they promised that they would take good care of me. So
dang.
I was playing then.
Wow, I didn't know. Now I remember that band, but I didn't know you was that young when you started with them. Wow.
Mm-hmm. They were really good too. They were
I remember that
started
band.
Started it all in Queens.
Yeah.
They were great, man.
Wow. So in 72 though, you was like Marcus was there at the same time.
Marcus didn't go to 72. But he was in the neighborhood. That mean that's how I got to know everybody, because when I started playing with Melvin and them, all the cats were we would have talent night, youth night, and then all the kids in the neighborhood would pick up instruments and sing and all. So that's how I met Marcus and them. They used to come to my basement, and they were a singing group. He wasn't even playing bass yet.
Wow. Right. Cool. So after the Soul Components, what'd you do after that? Because by that time, I think we was starting to play, and you had everybody in Queens coming through your basement.
Right. Yeah. Everybody stopped out in the basement. Yeah. Everybody was into my basement, man. All the great musicians. But I started playing in August Martin.
Okay.
When I got into high school with Air, this group called Air, and then we changed to DC8. But that was with Tony Simpson and Eddie Cordu and Najee and Shiraz, and all those guys were in the band back then. Right.
Rest in peace to Tony. Martin. I know we just lost him.
Yeah, we just lost Tony Simpson. Rest in peace, man. That was my boy.
Yep. I had ran into his brother long time ago at a show I was doing, and I ran into Eddie. Right? That was brother name? Eddie. Yeah. Eddie. So I hadn't seen him since he left your basement.
Yeah, me either.
Wow.
I haven't seen Eddie either. I mean, I don't know where he is now. But we all started in August Martin. And I was already playing with Melvin and them. And I remember I was sitting in class because my mother told Siraj and Najee and all of them that I played, and I was sitting in class, and I remember them people looking in the window because they were in the grade older than me, and they were looking in the window, and I seen these guys laughing at me, and when I came out the class, they was like, "Hey, your mother told me you play drums." I was like, "Yeah, I play." But they didn't know that I was playing way before. I was playing with really good cats already.
Right.
So they thought I couldn't play. So they asked me to come down and try out for them. I went down there. I tore them up, boy. They couldn't believe it, man. Because I was playing, starting to play fusion and all that stuff back then. None of those guys knew anything about fusion and Chick Corea and Billy Cobham and all that stuff. So I already was doing that stuff, and they were just playing funk and all that stuff.
Right.
I went down there, I tore them guys up, man. And they didn't laugh at me no more.
Wow. So now for back then, you knew Ronnie Drayton when he was playing drums?
Oh yeah. Ronnie Drayton used to teach me some stuff on drums, man. I used to go to they used to jam in this guy named Alan Thompson's backyard all the time, a great guitar player. And Ronnie used to be back there, and all the great musicians used to be back there. And I remember I was playing one day, and he goes, "Yo, man, you need to turn the cymbal around, play on the odd beat." I was like, "Huh?" He's like, and he showed me how to play on the odd, on the odd tempo.
Right.
And I was like, "Whoa, man, that's nice, man." But yeah, I didn't know he played drums.
Right.
He was a bad guitar player.
Right, and lefty at that. I know by the time I met him, he was like, "Yeah, I used to play drums."
Oh yeah, he was a bad cat. Man. He was a bad cat. He showed me some stuff.
Wow. So I remember they was like, y'all were the first band that I knew that was playing that Chick and them stuff note for note.
Yeah, we were really good back in there for our age and all that. We were pretty good, and we was like one of the only bands that were playing a lot of fusion stuff back then. Because all other bands were playing funk and funk stuff and stuff like that. So we started playing all the Chick Corea stuff, but it really, I remember we did a concert, man, and we was killing, man. We was burning, and the crowd, when we finished, the crowd was like crickets. We were playing some Diodato, we played some Chick Corea, and the crowd, it was at Springfield High School. I'll never forget that, man. We were killing, man. We came out doing some Billy Cobham and all that stuff. And when we finished, the crowd was like crickets. And then this band came on right after us. It was one of them guys' band, and Paul Ferrari and them. And they came out and they started playing some funk. Man, the crowd went crazy. That was our changing moment. We was like, I ain't playing no more. This is a fusion, man. We're gonna have to start playing some music people like. So then we changed.
I wonder is that the same show? Clyde McFadden, we call him Nip. He said he saw y'all at Springfield, and I think he had said that you took a solo in Africano, that Earth, Wind & Fire tune.
Right.
And he was like, "Yo, he was incredible, man." He said he never forgot that. He said he always knew who you was from that solo. He said, "Yo, Rich killed that solo." I was like, "Yeah," because now it's coming up. I was like, "Wasn't nobody greater than Rich?" And I said, "I had two on the block." Everybody was like, "Richard."
Yeah, Richard Currents. That's who inspired me, man. I used to go to his house and look at him, and that's when they were kind of getting famous. Creative Funk, they were getting famous then, and they had the record out, and they had all this good equipment, man. I remember that's where I stole Roger's drum set. Richard Currents had that big ass double bass,
that blue one, right? Yeah.
I used to go up in his attic. He had that thing, so I was like, I used to sit there and look at that thing like it was gold.
It looked like Richard was bringing drums home every week. Like his pops he's bringing home with drums.
Yeah, I used to go. He had the bad drum set, man. I was like in awe, man. I was like, wow.
That 10-piece double bass Rogers.
Yeah, I remember I used to go sit on them drums and I started playing. And then I remember one day I was like, man, one day I'm gonna be better than Richard Currents. And my brother was like, you'll never be better than Richard Currents. I'm like, yeah, man, I'm gonna be better than Richard Currents, man. So I used to practice. Then I tore him up on his own drum set.
Rest in peace, Richard Currents.
Yeah, rest in peace. That was my buddy, man.
Yeah,
he was great, man. Our neighborhood was the best, man.
Yeah, it was so much music, and so Chris Van Putten, another drummer,
I know.
We just lost, and Chris was another drummer I used to watch besides you, because it was funny because Glenn, was it him, Michael Powell, Glenn? I don't remember who played keys.
I think Chris Keller.
Was it?
Was it Chris? Was it Chris?
I can't remember them having a, because I remember they had two good. I think Wayne Jeffrey played with Unique Creation. I thought they had another guitar player. But they were like, besides y'all, they were the only other band that would let us actually come to their rehearsal without making us stand out by the window. Yeah. We could actually come in. So I did a lot of watching Chris back then.
I didn't even know Chris could play like that. Could he play?
Yeah, he was more of a groove cat, because they were playing a lot of funk, Kool and the Gang, whatever was a popular record. So they wasn't never playing no fusion. So
I remember I was teaching him a long time ago, but I didn't know he kept on playing.
Yeah. And so, but the fusion, like, so when did you get turned on the fusion? Like what?
When I was in, I think around 5th or 6th grade, I started hearing Lenny White and all them guys, man. Because my mother, one day, I remember because I used to listen to Malvisiano and Chick Corea, and I was like, man, Lenny White was killing back then. I was like, man. And my mother came home one day. She goes, hey, Rich, my friend on the job, my friend on the job, her son plays drums, and I was like, oh yeah, what's his name? She's like, White. I'm like, White. I'm like, White who? She's like, well, her son's name is Lenny White. I'm like, wow, you must be kidding me.
Wow.
Yeah, my mother used to work with his mother at August Martin.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and I was like, what? You know Lenny? I was like, man, because I was into chicks back then,
Yeah.
And I never really met. I met him like one time, but not like really good. Really good beat and stuff.
Right.
But I did when I was in high school. I heard that Donna Michael Walden was giving lessons.
Right.
So I like, wow, man, because he was playing with Malvisiano back then. I was like, wow, man, he was killing too. I was like, you know what? Let me go and see. So I started going up to Hillside. He was living up at Hillside on I think it was 188th. So I used to go up there and I was gonna go up there and try to learn how to read music and stuff like that, but we never got that far, man.
Right.
I started playing. He saw that I could play. So I started like kind of doing his demos for him and stuff.
Wow.
I started playing, and he showed me like some of the solos he did on the Malvisiano album and stuff like that. But that was a great moment too, boy, because I was liking him, boy. He was killing.
I remember that. I got to meet him in San Francisco.
Yeah,
and I told him, I said, yeah, I used to study your records. And I told him about you. I said, because you turned me on to Malvisiano, and he was like, yeah. So he came and sat in. I let him play a little bit on the set we was doing, and it's funny because he said, oh man, you powerful. He said, you look like you just sitting up here. He said when he came up to play, he was like, oh man, you got me working hard. And then he looked at the sticks. He said, look at these bats you using. I was like, I've been using this from the beginning. I said, Rich, 2S. That's all I know.
Yeah, I remember them things. Yeah, them sticks were huge, bro.
I said, 2S is all I know. I said, I tried to change one time, and it just didn't work for me. So 2S. He was like, man, you seem like you just up here just tapping the drums. And he's like, oh, man, you playing hard, ain't you? I was like, well, no, the sticks do a lot of the work.
Yeah, those sticks were huge, man.
Yeah.
It was like a marching band sticks.
Right. 3S and 2S was marching band, right?
Yeah, I remember. And I couldn't even play low on them sticks, man.
Yeah.
I used to complain all the time. Get you play low.
Yeah,
play low.
I learned to, but I couldn't never change this. I got so accustomed to the size. And somebody said, well, why did you start with such a big stick? And I was like, that's what Rich played. So I didn't even have my own six. I said, so when I came down there, it was these or nothing. Yep. But
then you started killing them drums too, boy.
Oh man, only cause of you, man. Because I tell a lot of people, I said, I'm listening to Kool and the Gang and whatever was on the radio. And I said, and then Rich lent me the first Billy Cobham album. And it totally changed my life and what I thought playing drums were.
Yeah.
And there was Mahavishnu Orchestra. I was like 12 listening to Mahavishnu. It was like, it changed everything.
Yeah, man. Because it was like, it was a whole different kind of music. And a lot of the cats wasn't doing that.
Nope.
They wasn't playing that kind of music, and they didn't know how to play it. And it was really difficult to play it. And they were playing, the other stuff, and they had grooves and all stuff, but they just didn't know how to play that kind of music.
That changed everything. After that, I was like, it was like, if you ain't playing this, then I don't know what we was wasting our time on the other stuff.
Right.
And not, not to say that they couldn't play, but it was just another expression,
right.
Especially to be that young and listening to Mahavishnu Orchestra. That was just even now cats can't get into it.
Yeah, I know.
And he was like, he was like, how old you listen to this? I was like, I was 12, man. I said, like you said, it was hard to find other musicians that were familiar with them.
Right. That could play it.
Right. So when I did find somebody, which is very rare, and it was usually a bass player that was my age, who was familiar with that and Jocko and stuff, but not a lot of guys I knew were familiar with Mahavishnu.
See, I had Eddie Cordu, and Eddie was a beast.
Yeah.
I mean, he was a beast, man. He Marcus used to come in there and watch Eddie.
Yeah, I remember when y'all used to have rehearsals. One time I came down there with Vic, and it was jam packed in there, and everybody came to see Eddie. He was like, "Yo, the new dude in the neighborhood," and was playing y'all. And at that time, y'all was playing a lot of Grand Central Station, just like the record. It's like Eddie was killing.
Yeah, he was. Oh my God, man. I mean, so I had it made because I had a great bass player that could play all the stuff with me. It's difficult when you're a drummer and you don't have a good bass player that could play stuff with you. But I was very fortunate that I had him, and he could play. I remember I gave him he never heard of Chicory and all that stuff, and I gave him the record and Return to Forever record. And the next day, man, he came back playing the stuff, man. I was like, go ahead, man. He said, I never heard of no Stanley Clark.
Wow.
I was like, man, check out this bass player, man. And I gave him the record. He became a beast, man.
Yeah, Eddie Cordell was no joke.
When I see Marcus, that's the first thing Marcus always asks me. Well, how's Eddie doing? How's Eddie doing? Because I'm telling you, everybody talk about Marcus all the time, but man, Eddie was a beast back then, man. And he didn't know what he was playing. He didn't know no notes, he didn't know nothing. He just had the air to play it, and he could play it.
Yeah, I tell cats now, I said we was fortunate to be able to watch a lot of musicians coming up, like especially your basement, I would say, is equivalent to SIR, for us. Like
everybody was
so many cats that, came through and went on to do other things. But it was like, Rich Basement you would meet all the cats that end up being popular. I remember, and even some of the drummers, I don't know if they kept playing. I remember Hugo, what was the drummer? Hugo Peterson? Was that his name?
Yeah, Hugo, yeah.
Hugo, I met him in your basement, and I think it was another drummer named John
Holmes.
And
I started teaching him how to play. I remember he started playing with Ubi. They started doing a lot of Mahavishnu and stuff. He was playing with that guy, Ubi Thompson, I think his name was, a guitar player. And they were playing all Mahavishnu stuff too. Right. But I remember I started John off, and he became a really great drummer too.
Yeah. For people in Jamaica don't know, I met Lionel Cordu in your basement.
Lionel. But Lionel turned out to be a beast too.
Yeah, man. You was teaching him. He was probably my age. He was the first drummer my age that I knew that was lefty. I knew there was a drummer, Roland Judd, I think, that was lefty in the neighborhood.
Yeah, Roland?
He was a lefty. And somebody else I know was left, but Lionel. Now I remember because I remember you was teaching him, and I came down there and I was like, who's this guy? Rich is my teacher, who's this kid? We were the same age. Who's this kid? And I remember we were scared to play in front of each other. You went upstairs and we just sat there. It's like, well, he had it because he had already turned the set because he was lefty. So it was like, well, you already changed it, so I'm not gonna play.
I remember when y'all could just come down and I was just sit there and wait for y'all to play, man. I'm like, come on, man. Man, let me see what you got, man.
Oh, man. But everybody used to be in your basement. Ronald Spivey, like anybody that was a drummer in the neighborhood came to your basement to learn. That I remember.
But that was great, man. You know,
Yeah.
it was a great thing. You know, I mean, I enjoyed everybody being down there and everybody playing and all stuff. It was just a great time, man. You don't got
Yeah.
that no more.
Nah, nah. It's funny. I remember playing in church, and I found one keyboard player who knew who Chick Corea was.
Wow.
One. Now that's just what it sounds like in church. These cats, these kids, man, that's all they playing. It's like Return to Forever plays in church now.
I know, man. Them guys are like playing like freaking like they're playing Fusion.
Exactly. They're playing Fusion behind the choir. They don't even care who's singing.
Yeah, if you don't know Fusion in church, then
you're not working. Exactly. I was like, well, finally, it only took y'all 30 years, but you're finally doing what I was trying to do.
Yeah, that we did. Like we were doing that back when we were freaking little kids.
Right.
You know? We were young when we was doing that stuff. But that back, like I said, we were like a little ahead of our time, you know?
Yeah, man. So when did you get into the production? Because like the stuff you're doing now is
when I started getting into production when I couldn't play no more. You know, you get older and stuff.
So when you stop now, I know like some of the groups you played with after that time period. I know you did some doo-wop. Then you was over in Japan.
Yeah, I was playing
with some groups.
With Glenn Gibson and them, and then I went to Soul Solution. That's band I still play with them now. We still do like corporate and celebrity stuff like that.
Okay. Right. So Rich, you was in the what they dubbed y'all Paul McCartney band? Did the wedding? Y'all did the wedding.
We did the wedding in Ireland for Paul McCartney, and then we did Billy Joel, and we did a lot of famous weddings and stuff like that. But that was it was just commercial stuff.
Yeah.
Covers and stuff like that. Yeah, but it was cool. We don't do nothing hard.
Right.
I can do that stuff in my sleep.
Right.
So my chops is like, you don't play no good stuff no more. Your chops go down the tubes.
Yeah, it's hard, man. Like now, I'll just, since I got the electric set, I'll just try to keep the chops up. But
Yeah, me too, a little bit. I mean, I every once in a while I'll start doing like some of that old stuff and stuff like that. To see if I can still do it.
Right.
But, it's not bad. I can still do it.
Yeah, it's now it's just like I said, unless you play in the church, you really won't have any place to do it.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. Because
until it's just solo.
Yeah, when I play with a band, I don't get no solos.
Yeah,
it's dance music or whatever,
Yeah,
so, but it is what it is.
Well, that's where the work is, though.
Yeah, you want to work.
You want to work.
You got to do what makes you some money and stuff like that. But
so when y'all was y'all like on doing any shows with like Jack Sass and them from back then?
I mean, we did a couple of Ballad of Bands with them. Mm-hmm. They were a whole totally different kind of band. They were great.
Yeah,
but they wasn't like none of the other bands in the neighborhood. They were like they had their own style. They were freaking bad, boy.
Yeah, because they was more on a rockish type.
Rock, yeah, they were rock. Yeah. But it wasn't too many bands that did rock like that.
Right.
They were good, man. But we had some good bands back in the day, man, that we had to play against and stuff like that. But like I said, we were always a little different.
Right. When did you meet Omar?
Because I met Omar through Abdul.
Okay.
Yeah, and then Omar had took off already. Back then he was playing with all all the top-notch people and stuff like that. But he was really good friends with Abdul.
Right.
Abdul Zori.
Yeah, I had met him at Jack Sass was playing. Well, actually, it was a lot of bands playing in Ajax Park.
Right.
And he came up to me and introduced himself after we had came off the stage. And I had mentioned you. Like I said, that first thing come out my mouth would go, yeah, Richard Ruiz. Mm-hmm. I'm off his block. That's who I learned from. And he, was talking with me. And I think Barry Johnson had been playing with that group in London and he was home. But that was a thing, Jack Sass and them, they were like the big band doing that show.
Yeah.
And a lot of neighborhood cats, Junior Fireboats. Right, and Howie, I ended up meeting Howie through you. Howie Gray.
Oh yeah, Howie was my buddy, man. Howie Gray was a great drummer. I used to go to his house and set up. We used to have 2 drum sets facing each other, and he, back then he was like doing like all the top gigs with all the top artists.
Right.
So he was a great drummer, like show drummer like that.
Right.
But he didn't do too much fusion stuff. So I used to show him like fusion stuff, and he used to show me like show stuff like grooves and stuff like that.
Right.
We used to beat the crap out of each other, man, out in the basement.
Wow.
But that was my buddy, man. He was a great drummer, man.
Yeah, I remember the White had a barbecue, and I think y'all played, and I know Howie and Richard Currents end up playing. But of course, us being kids, it was Beat It. So we were standing out in the sidewalk, like listening to them play. And it was like, man, we should give anything to be able to be back there to see that. Richard Currents and Howie. Like,
they were 2 great drummers. Two great drummers. But they, like I said, they didn't do fusion and like that. They just played like too much fusion. They just did like, commercial and R&B and stuff like that.
Wow.
But they were great at it. Great drummers, man.
Yeah.
Excellent drummers. And then what's his name came out? The drummer that was playing with Rick James.
Nino?
Nino. Yeah, I remember when he came out, they was like talking about, oh man, it's a new drummer in town, boy.
Right, I met him one time.
Everybody, man. I was like, who this guy, man? Who's this guy? It's like, yeah, this guy Nino, man, he's killing, man. Then I remember I went to see him, and I was like, oh shit, this guy's killing. He was killing, boy. He was a good drummer too.
Yeah, it was great. It was so many cats. That, like you said, that was a great time back in Queens.
Yeah, man. Couldn't beat it, man. I mean, we had it made, man. It was just a great time, man, for musicians and stuff back in Queens and stuff, man.
Right. So did you know any drummers or musicians like from the other boroughs? Anybody out of Brooklyn that was well known? Bronx or nothing like that? Really?
Man. It was just Queens. We had too many people in Queens. I mean, right. And back then, all the other neighborhoods, even Long Island and stuff like that, those guys wasn't coming to hang. They wasn't coming to mess with us in Queens. They wasn't coming to Queens to mess with us, and some of the bands started getting out there, like Crown Heights and all them.
Yeah, right. Crown Heights, right.
Yeah, Crown Heights Affair and stuff like that. But they wasn't coming. They wasn't coming to Queens.
Right, and because
none of them guys.
That was later. What was it? I know Brass Construction, BT Express, all of that. I think out of Brooklyn.
Right.
Yeah, Sky. But like you said, that was later. That was kind of.
Yeah, it was later.
Yeah.
We were Queens. We had it on lock. We had it on lock, man. Nobody was messing with us in Queens, man.
Yeah, Queens had so many bands. Cause even by the time I started leaving Jamaica and going over to like Hollis, I didn't know that many bands was over there. There was a lot of people. Cause I met Paul in school, and that's how I ended up starting to travel that side of town and meeting all those musicians that lived over there. But again, I told him, I said, yeah, but Jamaica had all the cats.
Oh yeah. Yeah, we had the cats, man. And all the people that got famous, a lot of people got famous out of there and all that stuff. But let me tell you though, when you talk to all the people about, as soon as you talk about Queens, everybody always, Marcus, Najee, like they were the ones. I'm telling you, they weren't the ones. Mm-hmm. The Palmer brothers were the ones. Melvin Palmer, Artie, and John Palmer were the ones that got everybody really going in Queens, man. They had the best band, and everybody came out of there, and I call them the king of Queens.
Yeah, I would have to say that if you didn't know the Palmer brothers, then I would think that you wasn't from Queens, because even as a kid, I was like, I knew it was all about them.
Oh yeah,
and
but because like I said, every time they talk about Queens, they always say, "Oh, Marcus," Marcus, and because he got so famous, and stuff like that, which is cool. It's great, but he ain't no king. He's not the king of Queens.
Right.
The king of Queens is Melvin Palmer and them, the Palmer brothers. That's who got everybody going in Queens.
Right. Because I remember some of the block parties. I remember like Marcus and Kevin Pettiford and them was Knee Creation. that band with Wayne Jeffrey and them.
Wayne.
But it was always like the Palmer Brothers was like the big name.
Yeah. Yeah. But that the people don't know it,
Yeah,
and they,
yeah.
like I said, they don't really know it. So whenever anybody asks me, I'm always saying the kings of Queens were the Palmer Brothers.
Right. Because they was working with Lenny too, right?
Yeah, they work with Lenny. Yeah, they wrote some songs for Lenny White's album.
Right.
Donald Blackman and all of them used to play with Lenny, with Melvin and them. They had the best musicians, man. They were freaking bad, boy. Them were some bad dudes, man. And that's where my inspiration came from when I used to watch them guys. And then, like I said, I started playing with Melvin when I was young. So they was the ones that get me going, playing out.
Well, it's a good thing your basement got popular, because I remember me and Vic getting kicked out of their backyard. no kids.
Y'all was always getting kicked out of somewhere.
I was like, we were like, either you had to stand in the driveway or we would stand at somebody's window, but we just wanted to listen and watch. And no kids. It's like, God, dog. Yeah. I remember Kevin Pettiford was like a great reader. And I think the first time I saw charts for drums, he showed them to me.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, you reading all of this at once? Like all of them different lines? He was like, oh yeah, it's easy. Easy. So anyway, we was at his house. So they was gonna rehearse. So Marcus came down, Carl, Wayne came. So I was like, oh man, Kel's gonna let me stay, right? So when they all got there, Kel was like, all right, so I'll see you later, man, because you gotta go. Like, dang.
They kicked you out again, huh?
Listen, close rehearsal. And then as I was going up the stairs, I was like, well, what are these two girls doing? Y'all ain't got no singers in your band?
The girls can
stay, yeah. It's okay.
Y'all got really good too when y'all were cooking.
Man. We rehearsed enough.
we did rehearse. Yeah, y'all did, boy. Y'all
practice, man.
Y'all were rehearsing.
Yeah,
my mother, man, y'all drove my mother and pops crazy, man.
Oh man,
rehearsing all the time.
I remember we had rehearsed so hard when Chief was I think president of the PTA, and he gave that fundraiser. So we was on that show with you and Glenn's band, and we rehearsed so long for that, to where your mom said, wow, y'all really sound good. And that was it. I was like, who cares if anybody else doesn't like us? Miss Ruiz said we sound good. I said it, and she's been hearing the best musicians in the world go to that basement.
Yeah, my mom and pop knew all the musicians.
Exactly. I was like, she said, y'all sound good. That was all we needed to hear. That was it. Like, who cares?
That was approval.
Exactly, that was approval, right?
Yeah, y'all were cooking though, man. I remember y'all was rehearsing. Y'all was getting really good. I was like, wow, these guys are cooking, boy.
Yeah, man, that was, but they had an opportunity, and, thank y'all for even letting us use the gear and stuff. Cause, without that, I tell people, like, my uncle, I got interested in drums because of him. He was in a marching band. Mm-hmm. But then my other uncle got me into sports. So I didn't get into drums till I came back and saw you and Richard Currents.
Right.
And again, had it not been for you, because I didn't see a drum set for a long time. So it would have been easy just to stop, because he was like, what am I going to practice on?
But you had it going on, man. Back in there when you were cooking.
Appreciate it, man. But that's because you turned me on to all the right stuff.
Yeah, you was cooking.
Like early.
Really good, man. I remember you practicing, boy.
I remember you used to give me an album. You go home and learn this. Don't come back until you know this tune. And Pleasant Pheasant. Oh man, I learned the beat for beat. and again, just teaching me how to learn though. And so that always helps my ears to this day.
Right.
Because you give me the records and say, go home and learn that.
Right.
Go home and learn this. So,
and your timing too, because when you play with a record, you got to play on time.
Right, exactly. So there goes your click.
Your timing was so good.
There goes your click, and then listening to a lot of odd time, especially at that age. And so people would ask me like, "How do you even understand that?" I'm like, I couldn't explain it to you. It's just something that I picked up and playing with the records, and knowing how to start manipulating time. And I'm like, I told some of my other drummer friends, I was like, if you was listening to Alphonse Mouzon and them at 12, you would just like that was all part of it. When you learn one of their records, you'd be surprised what you know after that.
Right, exactly. Like, I never knew what I was doing. You get it? I didn't know a note. I didn't know that one note, man. I just would play, man.
Like your chops after being able to play. I said, being able to play anything they played note for note, you had some chops. It was like you had to be able to do that stuff. Like again, a lot of cats didn't know Alphonse Mouzon back then. I was like, again, 11th house, Rich, turn me on to all these people.
Right.
You know,
and Alphonse was a beast, man.
Right. Find your all-stars. I said, Rich, turn me on to them. I said, all that Fuji stuff I know is because Rich turned me on to. I said, Passport.
Great numbers. Passport, yeah.
Yeah. You know, to which a lot of cats still don't really know them, you know, like Passport and them. They wasn't familiar with them.
Mm-mm. No, that drummer was killing on there, man.
So
killing drummer, man. You know, and like I said, just playing with records and stuff like that. Learning note for note, a solo. I remember I learned Billy Cobham solo on Spectrum. That Spectrum album, like note. I knew it. I could still do it now.
Yeah.
Because it's just like imprinted in my brain. Yeah. I know every beat that he plays on that daggone record.
And it's funny, and that's just how I learned now. To this day, and I gotta learn something. I learned it from learning back then, and I also learned everybody else's part.
Right.
Because it was all relevant.
Right. Exactly.
You know.
Yeah, me too. You could do the bass solo.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
It was all relevant. And so I could tell people that I was like, y'all in the wrong spot. And they was like, how? You ain't reading the chart. I was like, yeah, but I know the music.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And I mean, it's a weird way of learning because, you know, I guess it wasn't the correct way to learn, but it worked for us.
Right.
You know, it worked for us. You know, I didn't have nobody sitting down teaching me notes and all those paradiddles and all. So I never did none of that stuff. Man, that's why I said when I went to Mike Wallen, and he was supposed to teach me that stuff.
Right.
Man. I don't want to learn that crap. I know it already, man. I just don't know what it is on paper.
When I was in band in 72, the older guys didn't know I could play. And so I didn't ever say anything. But they be in there, you know, reading their little charts and blah, blah. And I would memorize this stuff. And so when I would play it, Carino would come over to me. He said, is that what's there? I go, no, I just add a little something extra. Because, you know, I thought it was a little corny. I was like, so as he said, hey, just play what's there, right? So he was like, play this right here. And, of course, I couldn't read it, but I had memorized it. So no sooner I heard what a band was, I knew what I was supposed to be playing.
Yeah, right.
He never found out till later that I wasn't reading it until it was something that was being played wrong because they played it wrong. And so I just sitting there learning from them. He's like, that's not what that is. He said, what is this right here? And I was like, So I was like, okay, here goes the other trick. I'll play it wrong. He's going to show it to me. No, that's not what that is. And then he plays it. Oh, yeah, okay, I missed the dotted quarter note. Yeah, right. And then I play it. And then, you know, but it was funny. I was like, yeah, I will just memorize it. But again, I had to memorize the whole band's part.
Everything, right, exactly. And that's how, you know, like I said, that's how we learn, you know, just listen to the records, man, just knowing everything on the record, you know, everybody's part, you know.
So
which is, I mean, I like I said, I still do it the same way now, you know.
Yeah, that's just how I learn now. I remember now, I didn't particularly care for the fact that all we playing was a snare drum. But the 8th graders used to put us on this raggedy drum. And because of you, I knew how to fix a snare drum.
Right.
So I would get the sounding all good. Right. And they thought they was going to, they thought they would kick us off. I just go, tick, pock, right? And go right to back sound like crap. And they was like, yo, what did you do? I was like, don't worry about it, but I'm not playing.
Yeah, man, because we had, remember our snares, boy. Our snares was
exactly.
Like, tight, boy.
That was that high Lenny White sound to this day. I tell Cat. I was like, he was like, man. I said, yeah. I said, all my stuff came from Rich, and then I started to develop my own. I said, but it's all based from Rich. I said because
we all came up together, man. Like I said, we all did it together, man. You know.
Yeah, because I didn't get to be around Richard Currence a lot. there's a few times he was home rehearsing and I would like sit in the window and watch. But like you said, they were taking off, so Rich wasn't even home.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, I didn't either. I used to go over there once in a while, watch him. I remember when he got the drum set. I went over there and I was tapping on the drum set. I was like, man, I want a drum set like this, man. I went home and told my father, I want a new drum set. He was like, I remember we went to Grayson's to buy a drum set. He saw this piece of junk drum set and he's like, what about this? And I was like, no, I don't want that. I want the Rogers. He's like, Rogers, man, that's so expensive. I was like, that's what I want.
And Rogers, right. That's the only reason I got a Rogers, because you had got one.
I want the Rogers. He's like, no, man, it's too expensive.
Gotta have a Rogers.
Give me the Rogers. I remember he bought me the Rogers, man. I was in heaven for it.
I was like, it's got to be Rogers.
Yeah.
I was like, Rogers? Because I remember you took me and Vic to Clef's before they closed. I would guess a lot of cats from back then would remember that store.
Mm-hmm.
I remember we walked in there and we seen all the kick drums up on that shelf on Rogers. We was like, wow. They closed not too long after that. We had started going to 48th Street.
Right.
And Chief showed me and Vic how to get there. And again, that was life-changing because you go to 48th Street and you would see, I remember we saw George Benson and Manny's and we just was standing there staring at him. I remember Vic was just staring at him. And again, we was getting kicked out all the time. I was like, yo, what is it about kicking kids out of places? And it was like, man, that guy go, yo, buying anything? It's like, just looking. But I had read in the Downbeat magazine an article on George Benson who said he used to get kicked out of Manny's.
Oh, yeah?
And I was like, oh, good. He said they used to kick him out. He said, and Wes Montgomery was in there at the time, and he told him, he said, hey, that kid's going to be great one day. Because, you know, he said, yeah, he comes in there, all he does is play all day, but he don't buy nothing. And he said, Wes said that he was going to be great one day. And I was like, it was George
you always
Benson.
get that. You know, like I said, I always told you that. I was like, man, you would be great.
Yeah,
man. You know,
man. Appreciate that.
Max Roach told me that I was going to be great.
Wow.
Yeah, I was on stage and we had played. And when I got off stage, he's like, man, you're going to be great, man. I was like, oh, man. And then he got on them drums and it just, he killed on drums, man. I was standing, I was like, holy crap. Because I was so used to Billy Cobham.
Right.
He had like 2 drums.
Right.
I was like, holy, this cat was killing, man. I was like,
yeah.
Wow, man.
And I remember for that, getting into Buddy Rich, like that's when I started to check out those other drummers.
Yeah, like Buddy Rich, yeah.
Buddy Rich. I remember he turned. It's funny, I got into the drummer that was playing with Maynard Ferguson.
What, Louis Belson?
Later on, Peter Erskine.
Oh yeah, Peter, yeah.
Right. So that's what got me into listening to big band was Maynard Ferguson. When you started like playing Maynard Ferguson stuff, and I started listening to the drummers because he always kind of had that big band thing mixed with kind of diffusion.
Right.
And so it was like Peter Erskine, and then Erskine ended up going to Weather Report, and I was like, wow, because Erskine, because of that big band thing, he had a different little thing about him. And I went back. Then it was Elvin Jones, and I started listening to them guys.
Right.
I've never liked the tuning though of jazz drums.
Me either. I mean, like I said, I was never a straight ahead jazz drummer.
Yeah, but I understood, why they tune like that because that's the whole Motown sound. Because they were jazz drummers.
If you wasn't a straight ahead drummer, man, you ain't crap, man.
Yeah.
Those guys say, man,
you ain't playing jazz.
Man, you ain't nothing, man. I was like, oh man, I guess I ain't nothing then.
Yeah. Who used to say that? I think Mike Fife used to always say that.
Back there, Mike Fife and all those guys.
Yeah. Especially though. Yeah. You ain't playing no jazz.
You ain't jazz, man. You guys suck. Yeah, but I was like, man, I was doing fusion, man. And I'll say with the fusion. But now these drummers out now, Marcus Gilmore.
I know the name.
Marcus Gilmore. That's Randy Gilmore's son. He's like the top jazz drummer out now.
Okay.
The jazz and fusion drummer out right now. He was on the cover of A Modern Drummer. And I remember him when he used to watch us when I was playing with the Cadillacs. He used to sit there and watch me play. Now this guy is like speaking to one of the top drummers in the world now.
Wow.
Yeah, you gotta check him out. His name is Marcus Gilmore.
Yeah, I'm familiar with his name. I've seen him on maybe some videos.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many of them though.
Yeah.
Like some of these young people. And I was like, well, that's great to see. I said, because at one point you wasn't seeing a lot of them. And so now you really see, like, I said, yeah, that's the age we were. I'm like, so you had the Bernard Wrights and stuff like that at that age. And, you know, and I was like, yeah, I said, but everybody I know was that age playing like that coming up.
Right.
I said, so, you know, when I see it, I go, oh, yeah, they killing, but it's nothing unfamiliar to me.
Right. Exactly. They're doing stuff that we did when we were younger.
Right. So
that's what they're doing now.
Right. And so that's why I was like, I would see drummers, they go, oh man, this dude's amazing. I was like, yeah, he's killing. I said, but I've seen that before.
Right. You know, You know, they have a little different style.
Yeah, right. It's a little different style. Still, I think a lot of them have the Dennis Chambers Foundation. Who basically Dennis talks about Billy Cobham all the time. So that was his foundation. And then he, you know, because Dennis played the funk stuff for Parliament. So, you know, he developed his own style. But, you know, I was like, yeah, but it all kind of, Billy is the root. And Billy was a straight ahead drummer. Right. But he comes off the line. So I was like, yeah, that's why he always sound like a whole marching band playing at one time.
Yeah. Yeah, man. I was like, man, I should study him like freaking every day, man. All I did was practice every day, man. Practice and practice.
Yeah. So tell me what you're doing now, man. I know you producing and got your music out.
Well, I just finally retiring now, and I'm getting ready to move out to Jacksonville.
Really?
Yeah. We buying. Me and my brother gonna buy a house out in Jacksonville, and a couple of my buddies are out there. Eric Sadler and Neil Edwards, and they bought houses out there. So we're gonna just do some music out there and just chill. I'm gonna do whatever I want now because I'm retired.
Eric from Bomb Squad? Eric?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
You know Eric Sadler?
Yeah, I met him one time. Yeah.
He's a nice guy. He's out there, and like I said, Neil, they used to play with me in Soul Solution. He bought a house out there, so he's out in Jacksonville. So I'm gonna get me a place out there with them and just hang out.
So Neil was a sax player, right?
Yeah. Just do whatever, you know, just do some music and produce. I'm working with a young lady here, and she's like, you know, trying to get out there, you know, so she's doing her promotion stuff and all that stuff, but just producing. That's it.
Yeah, man. Stuff sounds great. You know, I keep up what you're doing. And
Thank you,
with the EDM stuff and all of that.
Yeah.
So it's a grind, but that's good, man. Nance, my fiance, her sister is in Jacksonville.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, I'll guess you coming down to see me, right?
Yeah. I got another film. You knew Ralph, right? The bass player?
Yeah.
So Ralph, well, he's not in Jacksonville, but where's he at? He's south of Jacksonville.
Okay.
Yeah, he's down there. I think 2 years ago when Ralph retired, he got up out of here. He retired. He was out of New York in 2 weeks.
Yeah, I'm in Virginia, and I'm getting out of Virginia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cause you outside of Richmond, right?
I'm right outside Richmond. But I'm out of here, and then like I said, I'm just gonna do whatever I feel like it.
I hear you. And you leaving when? By the
probably September, October.
Okay. All right. And you said brother, who? You and Tony? Or
no, John.
Oh, John. Okay, no, John, because John's in Jersey, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. So we're gonna be dipping. He's gonna be here and there because he moves around with his job. So
right.
I'll be out there and I'm just gonna be chilling, man. Just doing some music. I'm gonna set up me a nice drum set out there. Try to mic them real good and get some good sounds and just mess around, you know.
Oh, that's great, man. All right, Rich. Appreciate you coming on.
Oh, man,
giving us a little
me, bro.
of the Jamaica Queens history.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it, man.
I want to see if I can get can't think of his name right now. The bass player out of Creative Funk.
Oh, Gary Dewberry.
Gary Dewberry. Yeah, right. Because you know, being that Richard Currents is not here, I can get a lot of information from him.
Yeah, Gary, great.
Yeah. Yeah, and Creative Funk was very influential.
Oh yeah.
To me when I saw how, I don't know if their manager or whatever, but they were doing it right back then. Had their own studio, had their own label.
Yeah.
You know, and so I definitely want to talk to him. But had to have you on first because that's the only reason why I am where I am.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And you know, you guys are the best, man. You know, we brothers, so
yeah,
we
man.
always be brothers forever. You know that. You know,
man.
We family.
Where's my fam? Right, exactly.
Right. We family.
Yep. All right, Rich. So thanks for being on Musician Rewind. We're gonna see everybody the next time, and everybody be safe.
Thank you, sir.
All right, Rich.
All right, brother.
All right.
Later.